The Agweek Cereals Crop Tour is sponsored by Bremer Bank, LCS, Ag Spray Equipment, the National Wheat Foundation, and AKE Safety Equipment.
This week, we kick off our annual Agweek Cereals Crop Tour. We begin near New Salem, North Dakota, where Jenny Schlecht is taking a look at the spring wheat crop.
I'm west of New Salem with Andrew Kreit, the agronomy manager at Dakota Frontier Cooperative. And Andrew, tell me about this field we're standing in.
Yeah, so we're in a field of spring wheat here, just a little west of New Salem. Everything's looking pretty good for the year. We had a fairly slow, I don't know if you call it slow start or fast start, as everybody knows with what we were throwing in April. Everything around here got going not before the first day. It was the 1st of May before anything got seeded and really started rolling, and we did 2 months of worth of work in a month here. So most all the small grains around this area went in those first 2 to 3 weeks of May. We did have some later that went in a little after that, but everything got in fairly early for what the year was. The dry heat that hit in June, that maybe affected us more than we know yet. It's gonna be hard to say what exactly things are gonna look like. We started off fairly dry in the last couple weeks, so we've been fortunate enough to catch some thunderstorms, decent amount of rain. I think that's gonna really help and save us.
This field in particular, the weeds don't seem too bad. That late start, I think everyone was a little concerned how things were going to be. What are we actually seeing?
Well, late start like this that we had this past year, there was hardly any spring burn downs done, which any year you see that, there's usually a fair amount of weed pressure that's going to come in season. We haven't seen too terrible, there wasn't much fall burn down last fall to speak of. So all in all, surprisingly, the weed pressure hasn't been too bad, but we've gotten a little better timely rains during the growing season, so that our in-crop applications did a lot better job than we've seen in the past couple years when we've applied that when it's dry. We have got a better kill, and weed pressure hasn't been too bad.
Thank you, Andrew.
We now head to central South Dakota, where producers are beginning to harvest their winter wheat crop, which is looking below average this year.
Winter wheat quality is down across central South Dakota this year.
Wheat around central South Dakota in our area has kind of been poor to below average, I guess. A lot of 15 to 40 bushel across the board, and I think it's averaging about 58 pounds, but it's nothing to write home about, I guess.
Pretty tough early spring. We came off a fairly wet winter, which was good right off the bat, but then through May, early June, it got excessively hot and made things difficult for grain fill.
Weeds are starting to impact the winter wheat fields.
Most of those things were controlled with adequate herbicide applications, but as this wheat has been a little bit thin, we're starting to see a greening up from weed pressure now as those early season pre-herbicides and early post-herbicide treatments are no longer effective, and so we're starting to see some greening up in the wheat from weed pressure, which guys are facing now at harvest.
They haven't seen a lot of diseases throughout the winter wheat crop this year.
Obviously, with the lower moisture, really not a lot of disease. I haven't heard of a lot of head scab. Had a few guys ask me about some wheat stem sawfly or wheat stem maggot damage, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Harvest is on schedule this year.
Probably right on average with typical harvest time. Maybe a little bit behind, but not much from a typical year. The quality of the winter wheat at harvest this year is a little bit lighter than we typically like to see, but the protein levels on the wheat are fairly good into average for what we would normally see.
Rounds and Myers say the oats and spring wheat acres in central South Dakota are looking pretty good this year, thanks to recent rainfalls. Thanks for watching AgweekTV on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe. We put out new videos every Saturday.